We just want to work, sell our crop, and have a decent life like everybody else. But if they would just leave it alone.
So farmers are being impacted by Trump's trade war again. They had to get bailed out last time, and it looks like it's going to happen again. Back in 2018, when he did his tariffs the first time, the agricultural industry lost $26 billion, $20 billion of which came from soybeans, because China is a big importer of soybeans. Something that I thought was really interesting. This soybean farmer talks about going back 9 generations to 1808, and this man is farming in Kentucky. He voted for Trump. He lives in the South. And now, I'm not a historian, but 1808, that was before a big event in U.S. history. Something was still legal back during this time. 52% of soybean exports went to China, around a fifth to the European Union, and the rest to Japan, South Korea, and Mexico. All countries that Trump has been targeting with his trade war. Here's what the soybean farmer looks like. And why am I not surprised? He looks exactly how I would have expected him to look. Now, Trump fucked them the first time and they had to get bailed out back in 2018. And he's done it again. But it seems to me they didn't learn the first time, especially if he voted for him during this past election. But I could have sworn Trump had talked about reinstating tariffs and starting trade wars like he's doing now. But I guess they didn't hear that. They thought that it wasn't going to impact them again. That, or they just couldn't stomach a black woman president. But what do I know?
Estimates show that China's retaliatory tariffs could cost American soybean farmers roughly $5.9 billion in lost revenue. How are you and other farmers reacting?
We're very concerned, Phil. We have a precedent from the trade war we went through about 7 years ago that was devastating to the American soybean farmer. Over that period of time, we lost nearly $20 billion of trade with China. Trade is 50% of the acres that are produced in the United States. And of that, currently 25% of our soybeans that we raise go to China.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Immaculate. Guys, when two bulls are fighting, do you know what suffers? Is the grass. This trade war is getting out of hand. Now, let's put the designer stuff beside for a minute. I know. Hold up. So, the farmers are now going through it. China has officially stopped getting their product and produce from US, and now they're opting for Canada and Brazil. So I think most of the products in question here is the soybeans. China imports soybeans from US, and it's their bigger market. Like, the farmers in the US are now sad because of the trade war. Is this going to end? You know, I think Trump thought China is like Africa, that he can just come and cut off the aid. But honestly, China doesn't need anyone. In fact, we are the ones who actually need China, because even in my house, I have so many stuff that I use that are from China. So let's watch these videos. I want to hear your opinion, okay?
Markets were mostly lower today. Soybeans coming down, wheat coming down, old crop corn coming down, while new crop corn got a little bump today. There wasn't much that we learned today. Yesterday, planting report came out. We're only 1% behind schedule. We are starting to talk about a delayed planting, whether that's because you're wet in Indiana or cold in Illinois. There's a myriad of reasons why that might be across the country. That's a story that's developing, but 1% behind doesn't raise many alarms today. We also got NOPA crush numbers. On the bullish side of things, we are sitting on their first oil stock decline in 6 months and a 10-year March low. So less oil stocks on hand is bullish for soybeans. However, we did come in below expectations for the actual amount of soybeans we did crush. Overall, not a super consequential report, but definitely need to add that here. Everyone have a great day.
If you think China barely buys anything from us anyways, so them increasing the tariff to 125% has no effect, you're one, completely wrong, but two, so close to getting the point of why this tariff war is so fucking stupid. In 2024 alone, we sent almost $150 billion worth of goods to China, with the main export being seed oils and grains. So The same cost of those things will now be over $300 billion for the Chinese to source it from the US. So instead of doing that, they're going to do what they did last time, which is stop buying our seed oil, stop buying our grains, stop buying our soy, and they're going to find it from someplace else. This is the exact same thing that bankrupted the farmers last time Trump was in there when he had to bail them out. So effectively, China, like they said, has priced US goods out of the market. It's cheaper for them to get it elsewhere. In addition to that, if you want products from China, which a lot of us have products from China, you're going to have to pay the fee, the 145% tariff. So by doing nothing, we would have just had basically free trade with very minimal tariffs, but instead now the cost is going to be more expensive for both the US and China, but China can effectively source those goods from elsewhere because they're talking about agricultural products. You can get agricultural products from other agricultural nations like Brazil, like Ukraine. Okay, so they lose next to nothing. We pay more and can't sell our products to them. That hurts the American economy way worse than it hurts the Chinese economy. And definitely I had a lot of people saying, oh, you're simping for China. No, I'm simping against bad economic decisions. It doesn't matter who makes them. If China's making the right economic decision and the US is making the wrong economic decision, then yes, that's what I'm going to talk about. Anyways, like, share, follow, favorite. I appreciate you guys.
Everyone expected China to hit back, but no one thought they'd go straight for America's farms. The U.S. just raised tariffs on Chinese goods. Washington expected retaliation. But instead of targeting tech, manufacturing, or finance, China went after agriculture. Why does that matter? Because agriculture isn't just another industry. It's one of America's biggest economic weapons. The U.S. exports more than $150 billion in agricultural goods every year. China has been one of its biggest customers. And now, that door is closing fast. This isn't just about money. It's about pressure. China isn't just hitting the U.S. economy. It's hitting the heart of rural America. Why? Because that's where Trump's biggest support base is. If farmers feel the pain, the political pressure shifts. And that's exactly what China wants. And here's the real question. Is this just the first move? Or is China setting the stage for an all-out trade war that the U.S. can't afford to win? If there's one thing that makes American agriculture powerful, it's exports. And China just put that entire system at risk. Here's why this is a big deal. The U.S. doesn't just feed its own people, it feeds the world. More than 20% of all American-grown crops and meat are sold internationally. And China? One of the biggest buyers, until now. China knows exactly where to hit. Soybeans? The U.S. sends tens of millions of tons to China every year. Corn? Beef? Pork? All major U.S. exports, now on the chopping block. If those sales disappear, farmers don't just lose profits, they lose their entire market.
So we're shutting down our market farm. We've officially decided to close the doors to our farm store and market farm. We just notified all of our customers yesterday. That may come as a shock to you, and some of you may be like, well, why are you doing that? There's many reasons. Ultimately, it comes down to we don't feel like the time input for the return is worth it. There's only so much time in a day. I've got several other businesses that just demand my time. I'm a real estate agent, I'm a health insurance agent, and then obviously we run the Tanner Farmstead social media accounts, educating you on how to grow food, and I really want to scale that and scale these other businesses, and I really want to grow putting out more content. And to be honest, I've wrestled with this for the past couple of years. I want my content to be about homesteading and food preservation and all these other fun things that I want to do, but I haven't been able to do because I've got to put so much time into the turn and churn market farming crops like lettuce. And so it's just not been in line with my vision. If you got any questions or want to hear more about that decision, you can send me a direct message. I also have a YouTube video out that you can watch, me talking further about the profitability of small-scale farming.
China just warned the US, keep disrespecting us and we will ban your companies from doing business here. That's a threat, but here's what nobody's talking about. America can checkmate China without firing a single shot. And this could be done if America pulls manufacturing out of China and move it to India or Mexico or even back home, killing dependency and building resilience. If America unite with nations and form economic alliances leaving China out of the room, what happens when you're not at the table? You have no influence. They can also control the tech chokehold, block China from accessing US semiconductors, AI, and advanced chips. Without tech, they will stall. America could weaponize the dollar. If the US runs the global financial system, if America freezes China's financial reach, they can't play. And lastly, America could win the resource war, secure rare minerals, energy, microchips. Whoever controls the resources controls the future. Tariffs are just the tip. America doesn't need to fight dirty, just fight smart. The real war, it's economic, it's digital, it's strategic. This is how America is going to win.
So now, whatever Trump is doing with tariff is affecting farmers here in America. And that's the bottom line. A lot of people wanted him to tariff people, but it's going to affect you. So now, instead of China importing soybean from American farmers, now they are going to import in Brazil. They turn into Brazil now. So who's losing?
That's a big issue for the farmers.
And once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, it's like a building come down. It's hard to put it. And you know you can take a building down in one day, but you can't put it up in one day. That's the problem. And the long-term effect on that. Wow.
This is a big deal, you know, because I heard this will not be easy to be repaired, because now they're gonna have to depend on other countries to import these soybeans, and everybody running from America. They're all running away.
Yeah.
This is a mess.
Yeah.
So now the farmers are hurting. Oh my Lord, this is just tough to hear. I'm not a farmer, but this is tough. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning.
Wow.
Because other people, especially those people in Europe, they are coming together and they are purchasing, going to be importing stuff that they import from America, from other countries. Who is this hurting?
The long-term effect on this maybe cannot be repaired.
Yeah, because they're not going to come back.
Yeah.
China is not going to come back to return to importing.
American credibility and confidence and trust is gone.
And guess what? China is in this fight for the long haul.
Yeah.
And
they can do it.
They're taking other recourse. They don't have to. What they're saying, they don't have to purchase from America.
The thing about it is that China is strategic. Mm-hmm. America government is not strategic.
They're just throwing out tariff.
Impulsive, very impulsive.
Not thoughtful.
Impulsive and reactionary.
Yeah. This is a big deal. This is a big deal, and I feel it for those farmers. I must tell you, I really do. Continue to join me for more on my page. Okay, thanks.
American soybean farmers now face a fundamental competitive disadvantage in the global marketplace due to China's retaliatory tariffs. CNN reports U.S. soybeans are subject to a crushing 135% tariff in the Chinese market. Combining the 10% March tariff with the recently announced 125% increase, this market distortion has dramatically altered global soybean trade, making American products prohibitively expensive compared to competitors. The consequences echo the 2018 trade war, when Brazil seized the opportunity to become the world's leading soybean exporter. Since then, Brazilian exports to China have surged 280%, while U.S. exports have remained flat, demonstrating a significant competitive repositioning. For American farmers in Midwest red states who supported Trump in both 2016 and 2024, this competitive disadvantage represents a bitter irony. Despite promises of improved market position through aggressive trade policies, they now find themselves effectively locked out of the world's largest soybean market without the promised exemptions or financial support. This competitive repositioning extends beyond temporary market conditions. Brazilian producers have invested in expanded production capacity, improved infrastructure, and strengthen trade relationships that will continue to advantage them even if tariffs eventually diminish.
Our farmers will be some of the hardest hit by those triple-digit Chinese tariffs. China buys over half of all the soybeans that the U.S. produces.
And a 125% tariff on these soybeans will be
The
devastating.
tariffs will be a huge incentive for people in China to source their beans from elsewhere, severely damaging U.S. soybean farmers. Soybean farmers already receive significant subsidies from the U.S. government, but they will need to be subsidized even more heavily to make up for the lost demand from China. Once again, it is important to remember that China is the third largest purchaser of U.S. goods, so it is imprudent to simply dismiss them as not necessary to U.S. trade. They very much are. But as in any trading conflict or partnership, there are always going to be winners and losers. And it looks like in this particular round of the trade evolution between China and the U.S., soybean farmers will be coming out on the losing end in the U.S. And for people saying these soybean farmers don't matter, you've just made the D3 List, a podcast about dumb, desperate, and diabolical business decisions.
I don't think it's that shocking. United States probably still produce more soybean than anybody else. What's shocking is, why don't you use soybean? Make something out of soybean. I don't know. You have... Okay, you put soybean in the water and you can grow sprout. And you fry the sprout, that's one of the best dishes. You make soy sauce out of soybean. You make soy milk out of soybean. You push the soybean. You got tofu. You put tofu harder. You got dry tofu. And you can even get stinky tofu. Why don't you use soybean more?
And now China exposing our soybean farmers. You know, they're upset now. Now they're entering the chat because with these reciprocal tariffs that China put on the United States, you know what we import the most? Soybeans. That's right. That's fucking right. So now these soybean farmers are so upset because now they can't sell as much soybean as they want to. The art of the deal, though, right? This is a great businessman. This is a fantastic businessman. You know, he's gonna figure it out for you guys, right? I mean, you know, by then you probably won't have a goddamn farm. By the time all this shit is over with, and he's losing this trading war. I just want y'all to know that. The fact that he backed down and said, well, we're going to add some of these tariffs to, we're going to take some of these tariffs off of, you know, your electronics and all that stuff. You know, the main stuff that keeps y'all happy, the iPhones that keep y'all happy, the Nintendo Switches that keep y'all happy, the cars that keep y'all happy over here. Y'all are now realizing how much we get from China. It's not China that is fucking y'all over. It is the United States of America. That's who's been fucking y'all over this whole entire time. And China has just exposed that within 1 week. Crazy, my niggas, crazy.
We have some big news right now. Donald Trump's tariffs on China are impacting farmers the most, and many of them have buyer's remorse for even voting for Donald Trump in the first place. One of the top products that is tariffed is the U.S. soybean, and U.S. soybean exports, according to CNN, are now subject to a total tariff of 135% because of the 10% tariff imposed in March, along with the 125% tariff announced last week. If you recall, back in 2018, the winner of the first U.S.-China trade war wasn't U.S. farmers, but rather Brazil, because Brazil became the world's leading soybean exporter. And since then, exports to China have grown 280%, while U.S. exports have remained flat. Many soybean farmers in the Midwest actually voted for Donald Trump. They come from states that are red states that voted for Donald Trump consistently, both in 2016 and in 2024. And Trump had long promised exemptions or support for farmers, but they haven't received any bailouts just yet. And some are now even having buyer's remorse because their businesses are going to suffer because they can't export the number of soybeans that they were before. As always, I'll do a full breakdown on my Substack, link to my bio, so subscribe for free and follow along for all the news you need to know about.
So have you heard the latest, folks?
Brazil has now filled the soybean void after China cancelled all soybean imports from America. Interestingly, China had actually paused soybeans coming in from Brazil back in January. So Trump really screwed that one up royally, yeah, for China to lift the embargo and just say, yep, we want your soybeans now. And they're probably going to pay them decent money, right? So, anyway, the American dollar's weaker. Things are starting to shift. And I honestly think that Trump has done irreparable damage to the United States. The world's lost all confidence, and there's going to be massive ramifications. Watch this space.
Man, farmers are screwed. Do you know 75% of what we grow here in BC gets exported to the United States? And today we have a 25% tariff on all those goods. If farmers were screwed before, what do you think is going to happen now? That question is, what do we do? And the great thing is there are solutions of what we can do today. Why don't we get the farmers to sell directly to grocery stores? Why don't we build better connections with local restaurants? Because they want to buy local produce. How about we create more farmer markets or mobile farmer markets where farmers actually drive around to areas where people can't drive to them? There are solutions that we are creating today to save BC farmers, but we need everybody's help. We need more farmers to get involved, and we need the public to help create these solutions and get on board. This town hall this Sunday, everybody is welcome. Come, hear the game plan that we're putting in. We need your help. It's on Sunday, March 9th. It's starting at 5 p.m. In fact, we're going to have free dinner for everybody, because in order to save farmers and ultimately Canada, we got to all work together. Come bring your ear, because this is the most important town hall you'll ever attend, maybe in your life.
Whew, it's a lot. I think this issue needs to be fixed ASAP, because if all the produce get ready at once and there's no market for it, the farmers are going to make so much losses, you get. So what do you think about this? What do you think about the chaos in the marketplace right now? It's not even about the designers anymore. We're thinking about China as a whole country. We're thinking about America and its people. Clearly, we're not making America great again. I don't know what America is turning into, but I hope this issue is resolved really early, because now the MAGA are really sad and mad. People are just regretting their votes and their choices. We shouldn't be living like this. So let me know your thoughts. Do not forget to subscribe, like, and share this video if you care. Okay? See you on to the next one. Bye.